Duane Duggan, RE/MAX Boulder Video Podcast. Today we have Todd Gullette, Managing Broker at RE/MAX Boulder, to fill us in on all the market and what is happening in the stats. So Todd, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
If I remember right, we were talking about end of July stats. There's always a little bit of lag from when we do these reports and when we get the stats. So how are we doing?
Right. Well, we are looking at end of July stats. This is from the year so far leading up to July, and we pull our statistics from IRIS, which is our local MLS. And if you've joined us over the last couple months, you'll probably realize that we haven't appreciated very much in our prices. And I think it's important to understand that this is a fairly typical lull through the last half of the summer and leading into the fall, where we have what I call kind of a breather after the busy spring market. So
Gotcha.
Our inventory is still historically low, with 853 units, which is, just for some perspective, 10 years ago in 2008, we had over 2,000 listings on the market at this time. So that's a 2.5 times decrease in our inventory. So that really helps everybody kind of understand what we mean when we say lack of
low inventory.
Low inventory, right.
Means it.
Exactly. So our median house prices are still strong for our single family at $610,000, which is up 7% from last year at this time, and our average prices are up to $770,000, which is an increase of 10% from last year. So this all leaves us with about 3 months of inventory, and 44% of those are under contract. So still very fast. However, typically in the fall after this breather, there are some opportunities for a buyer to experience some relief from the busy spring market.
Right. So this lull is not necessarily an indication of what the whole year will have been like. Just kind of a typical seasonal low, right?
Right, precisely.
Right.
Yeah.
So condo stats, it sounds like it's a good time for a buyer to buy, you said?
I think it will prove to be a good time to buy this fall for condominiums and attached dwellings and single family. Right now, our attached dwellings inventory is up about 10%, and that's probably due to some new builds. We have Spark, Peloton, Pearl 21, and Summer Hawk, so there's some really exciting projects coming up. This all leaves us with about 2 months of inventory. We have our median sales price for attached dwellings at $395,000, which is up 10% from last year at this time. And our attached dwelling average prices are at $455,000, which is up 12% from this time last year, and about 50% under contract of our housing stock.
Okay. So our market's had this incredible run for the past 6 years, which is kind of longer than our typical booms. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, well, no news really. We've got an amazing market right now, and our local market's acting like a train on the rails. So we're chugging along with relatively high appreciation and very consistent statistical information month over month. In fact, if there's anything exciting about this statistic, it's just watching the veracity in which our experts are grasping for what is maybe the next vulnerable point in our market or in our economy. And there's a lot of opinions. Everybody's got an opinion on what's going to happen next.
Okay, what's your opinion?
If I had to have an opinion, it would just be that, barring any national or global economic event, that affordability in our local market is probably the biggest concern. At some point, we're going to run into what's affordable, which is currently being redefined. We keep seeing money coming into our town, and when will that run out? And affordability is a topic, right?
Well, and that relates to interest rates. One last question I wanted to ask you about interest rates. What your thought were on where they're at and where they're going in the end of the year?
Well, last month I mentioned there'd probably be a couple more hikes in interest rates, and right now we're standing at about 15% higher than last year at 4.53. That's according to Freddie Mac at the end of July. But we haven't seen much in the way of impact in our market, in our sales market. We've raised the interest rates a little bit, and we've seen nothing. Our appreciation seems consistent. We also know that our wages haven't kept up with housing prices. And yet, again, this train metaphor, we're chugging along with very consistent appreciation. So it's really hard to see what's going to be a point of vulnerability for us.
Nice. Okay, so Next month, we'll have the end of August stats. Won't be quite the end of the quarter yet, but it'll be interesting to see how things are shaping up coming into fall.
Yeah, we might see some changes as we, from this breather, we might see some change in appreciation and market activity.
Okay, Todd, thanks for helping us out. Keep us informed of the market.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Duane Duggan, RE/MAX of Boulder Video Podcast, signing out.